Welcome to the road to 1 million US dollars. Let's get right into the Bitcoin chart for today, starting on this 4-hour time frame for Bitcoin, because we have right now broken down below these two critical ascending trend lines for Bitcoin, which have been playing as some short-term support, but now we have officially broken down below this and already gotten about a 2% move to the downside. So the lowest we got was about 67.4K for the Bitcoin price. And of course, if you have been following my videos over the last week or so, you know that we still have this CME gap here sitting at about 67.2K. So with the price trading so close to this CME gap, it would not be surprising to eventually see a filling of this CME gap here. But at the same time, we should also not forget about this CME gap that has now been created during this weekend here, because currently we are trading at about 67.9K for the Bitcoin price. And we do have a CME gap here sitting at about 69.5K. So an interesting situation would arise here if we actually end up filling this CME gap to the downside, because then we would have another CME gap to the upside to kind of pay attention to and somewhat worry about, especially if you are in a short position to the downside here, because you could get a move back to the upside to fill this CME gap. And taking a look at the bigger support and resistance levels for Bitcoin, currently we already touched the bottom of this big level of support, sitting from about 67.5K all the way up to about 70,000 US dollars for the Bitcoin price. Now, in the case that we break down below 67.5K, likely we would be falling into this next big level of support below that, sitting from 66,000 all the way down to 65,000 US dollars. Now, taking a look at the Fibonacci levels for Bitcoin, first of all, we have this Fibonacci golden pocket sitting between 68.4K and 68.7K for the Bitcoin price. Right here, we got two candle closes just below the Fibonacci golden pocket. And after that, we immediately came down to around this 0.786 Fibonacci level sitting at 67.3K. Now, as I've been saying here recently, when we close below the Fibonacci golden pocket, typically that is a short-term bearish signal, and we already saw that play out just a little bit with this move to the downside here. So for now, I would say definitely pay attention to this Fibonacci level of support below, because in the case we close below the 0.786 Fibonacci level, we are talking about potentially undercutting these previous lows here on the 4-hour time frame. And this would actually set up a pretty different structure in the market, because so far here, we have just been making higher highs and higher lows. So right now it is still possible to get a resumption to the upside. But if we now really start to undercut these previous lows right here, that would really change the structure in a way that would look a lot less bullish. Now, to avoid misunderstandings, let me be very clear that there is a difference between the different time frames. So for example, on this 1-hour time frame, this is a clear downtrend that we are in right now in the immediate short term. So if you're looking for a reversal in the short term, then you could look for potentially a break of this descending trend line right here. But basically, so long as we do not break this trend line, we should just expect the Bitcoin price to continue to go lower and lower over time. But at the same time, if I take a look at this 1 month time frame for Bitcoin, so we are zoomed out a lot here on this chart, this to me actually doesn't look too bearish just yet. What we saw right here was a bunch of lower candles over and over again, but then in this most recent candle close, we actually broke out of that downtrend. Yeah, this could still do something like this, but of course on the lower time frames, it is starting to look pretty bearish here. So my strategy here with all of this uncertainty in the market is to continue to trade the lower time frames for Bitcoin. For example, recently here, when we broke down below this trend line, as I said ahead of time, I would see that as a bearish signal. So then when we broke down below and we retested it here, we failed to break out back above. So I opened a short position there, and that actually led to a nice 103% profit on that trade. Of course, as always, I share all of my analysis inside the Road to 1 Million Discord community, and you can join this completely for free. We already have over 2,000 members inside this community here. And if you're in the community and you want to get access to my trading signals, then all you have to do is go to this trading signals access channel right here, follow these 3 steps, and you will get access to my trading signals completely for free. Now, if I actually take a look at the 1 week time frame for Bitcoin, this is a pretty crazy weekly candle. So we had this potential breakout to the upside here. Even had the breakout on the 1 day time frame, but actually on the 1 week time frame, we never got that candle close outside of this broadening wedge pattern. So this is something that I'm definitely looking out for over this following week. One more thing I'm actually looking out for on this 1 week time frame is actually the 1 week RSI momentum indicator for Bitcoin. Because of course, if you have been following me over the last couple of weeks, you know that we caught this breakout of the RSI, which perfectly coincided with these lows right here. And then we saw this very nice pump to the upside. So we really caught that momentum beautifully for Bitcoin. But right now, we are potentially about to turn around, right? The thing is, though, on the 1 week time frame, we haven't lost this ascending trend line on the 1 week RSI. So that is something that I'm really looking out for here. If we get a weekly candle close below this RSI trend line, then it is really starting to look like we will get a longer term kind of move to the downside here, because I do think it would be quite unlikely to get a weekly candle close below and then just continue to blast off to the upside here. Next, taking a look at the Bitcoin liquidation heat map. First of all, on this 1 week time frame, as you can see right here, we have now taken out that big pocket of liquidity to the downside. And this was actually a pocket of liquidity that I was talking about over the past, week or so, as we were kind of turning around here on the lower time frames, saying that this could be a potential area of interest in the case that this downtrend continues. And of course, now we have taken out that big level of liquidity, showing once again that it is important to pay attention to the Bitcoin liquidation heat maps, because typically the Bitcoin price gets attracted to where there is the most liquidity. If I really zoom out to the highest time frame here, so this 1 month time frame, for example, right now we have quite a bit of liquidity to the downside still, for example, at about 65.2K for the Bitcoin price. And in fact, most of the liquidity right now is to the downside at 61.5K. For now, I do think it is quite a long shot to be talking about 61K like it is a realistic price target to, for example, be shorting down to. But of course, I will continue to update you guys every single day on these Bitcoin liquidation heat maps. Something that is slightly worrying for the bulls here in the short term is that there simply isn't that much liquidity to the upside left, because we took out all of that liquidity here on that massive pump to the upside that we saw here over the last couple of weeks. Either way, this has been today's market update. Don't forget to join the Road to 1 Million community to get access to my trading signals completely for free, simply by following these 3 steps right here in the Trading Signals Access channel. But regardless, if you do end up joining or not, thank you for watching once again, and I will see you tomorrow in the next one.